For over 200 years, the United States has been walking a fine line between world leader and world agitator. What began as a young nation proclaiming liberty and justice gradually evolved into a global superpower whose foreign policy choices often told a very different story. From early expansionist ambitions to modern military interventions, America's path to dominance has frequently left other nations feeling coerced, manipulated, or outright betrayed. In the 19th century, the U.S. extended its borders under the banner of manifest destiny. This belief in a divine right to expand laid the foundation for a more global form of imperialism. While American leaders professed to stand for freedom, actions like the annexation of Texas, the Mexican-American War, and the acquisition of overseas territories after the Spanish-American War reflected raw strategic ambition. The occupation of the Philippines, in particular, revealed how quickly American rhetoric could dissolve when confronted with the allure of control. When the world plunged into two global wars in the 20th century, the U.S. first hesitated, then assumed leadership. President Wilson's idealism in promoting self-determination after World War I was undermined by America's own refusal to join the League of Nations. The Cold War further complicated this posture. As the U.S. sought to halt the spread of communism, it supported coups, funded autocrats, and propped up regimes that aligned with its economic or military interests, even if they brutalized their own people. Nations like Iran, Guatemala, Chile, and the Congo became examples of American interference that ran counter to its professed democratic values. While Europe often benefited from American involvement, especially in the form of aid and security guarantees, the Global South endured the cost of America's Cold War strategies. Vietnam became a bloody symbol of overreach. U.S. operations in Latin America, Africa, and Southeast Asia demonstrated that American foreign policy was frequently less about spreading freedom and more about maintaining influence. With the fall of the Soviet Union, the U.S. stood unchallenged. But instead of using this moment to usher in a more collaborative global order, America doubled down on unilateralism. Military interventions in Iraq and the Balkans, economic coercion through the IMF, and a growing military-industrial footprint made it clear that the U.S. intended to remain the world's primary power broker. Many nations saw this not as leadership, but domination. The September 11 attacks brought about another seismic shift. The U.S. entered the war on terror with massive international sympathy, but quickly squandered it. The invasion of Iraq on false pretenses, civilian casualties from drone strikes, and the use of torture in places like Guantanamo Bay transformed that sympathy into suspicion. American security became a justification for violating international norms. Even outside of warfare, the U.S. has lost credibility by selectively honoring treaties and global agreements. From pulling out of the Kyoto Protocol and the Paris Climate Agreement to ignoring rulings from international courts, America has shown a tendency to play by its own rules. The economic realm tells a similar story. Structural adjustment programs that benefited American investors more than the populations they claimed to help, exploitative trade practices, and sanctions that hurt civilian populations. The recent rise of populist nationalism in U.S. politics only deepened the divide. America First sent a clear signal. Partnerships are optional, and loyalty is transactional. Allies found themselves sidelined. Multilateral deals were abandoned, and adversaries were either threatened or wooed, depending on shifting political winds. The root of the wedge between the U.S. and the rest of the world is not a single policy or president. It's the inconsistency between what America says and what it does. A nation that claims to champion freedom and democracy while supporting dictators and destabilizing regions cannot help but erode its own credibility. The world doesn't hate America for its freedoms. It distrusts America for its hypocrisy. The long-term cost of this erosion is profound. In a world increasingly shaped by multipolar dynamics, with China, the EU, India, and others asserting more influence, the U.S. risks being seen not as a trusted leader, but as an unpredictable actor. Healing that divide will take more than strategic alliances. It will require a return to principles and the discipline to live by them.